So we're very happy to be joined by Paula Esson, who lives in Northern Ireland, lives and works in Northern Ireland, and amongst other things, with a long career in bodywork. Paula has got a Bachelor of Science in Sports Science degree. She was the Assistant Professor of Pain Management at Leicester University. She's also a Bowen practitioner and instructor, and also she teaches MSTR, and she's also an MSTR practitioner. So we're delighted to see you, Paula. Just tell us a little bit of how you got into perhaps bodywork like Bowen, and for a start.
It's a really interesting story. Well, I think it is. It's basically I was very much sort of sports science all the way through, and then I had my son, and I had an emergency section with my now 25-year-old Callum, and I had quite a few what I can only describe as interesting, inverted commas, symptoms and experiences following that seemed to baffle the medical profession, but I knew was genuinely happening. So it was a question of like, this is really interesting, what do I do? So the traditional paths that I'd take weren't really helping. And I happened to be coaching quite a high level basketball game at the time in Hexham. And there was a Bowen practitioner actually on site who said, shall I have a look at that back for you and that shoulder? And he twiddled around a bit, as we know how it goes. And I thought, how's that going to do? And 2 days later, I was pain free. I was like, okay. And then I just got my science head into it. And the rest is kind of history. And it's been a very long and busy history through, working in practice at a doctor's to, teaching for the college, and then building centres across Europe, and then back into teaching again, and running the college for a short while. And then just, I think, from an academic standpoint, I'm more interested in how we can change things from the front line. That's what MSTR is doing, and that's where my passion has been heading. Yeah.
So how did you come across MSTR? What's that story?
Oh, crikey, how did we actually first meet through this? I'm trying to work out what the actual start was. One of those is vision. And I could see that you had picked up a very important, thread here, and you had the skills to actually take it forward into something where it's constructive. So I kind of wanted to be on that team and in that boat and following that journey. Yeah.
So now you've been using MSTR in your practice for some time. Have you got any examples that you could tell people about in this interview that's been kind of outstanding stories for you?
It's the one in Iceland, with my colleague who had friend who had throat cancer and multiple operations, and grafts from the leg, etc., across his neck, throat, body, everywhere. And he had a peg feed in, and he couldn't, move his neck, and he wanted to get his swallow back so he could come back to some sort of social existence. That was the key factor, and everything else hadn't achieved that result. And we did 3 treatments with the MSTR, and he was able to have his peg removed and remove back to a sense of normality. And as a graphics designer and a very potent writer, he went back to the cafes with his colleagues, and he writes all the time now. But there you are, you see him drinking his coffee, and that to me is what I call a result. Someone having their life back. Yes, that's what drives this for me. Yeah, I think the way that the course has been structured is accessible. It doesn't try to be what I would call over academic or over clever. It has a huge amount of practical element to it, which really works for most therapists, because we're so sort of kinesthetic that doing is more important than the understanding sometimes. But the way that's been structured, the breaking down to the simple, I think, is its key. That you've taken an incredibly complex subject and broken it down to its simple bolts, and then that can be picked up and really run with across the board. So it has, to me, very little ego, and that's very important to me because it's about the clients and the staff team. So I love that piece of it. It's just, to me, it's total. Look onto the website. It's only a day of your time. Get this course under your belt and let the results speak for themselves. But of course, Alistair, we're lucky that we've seen this under the skin and ultrasound as well, and we know what it's doing. So we have the facts and the backup as well, which is and the research, which is, I think, is just it. So if you want something that's innovative and you want something that's absolutely at the front march of what's happening with bodywork, it's MSTR needs to be your subject. Yeah.
Thank you for your 5 minutes of your time. Really appreciate that. Paula is obviously one of our instructors, and she teaches in Northern Ireland, and in the rest of the UK, but also over in Greece and up in Iceland as well. So she's all over the place, is Paula, keeping very, very busy in teaching and practicing MSTR. Thank you for your time, Paula, and we appreciate your comments, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Good to be here. Cheers.